And we are live.
All right. What's up, beautiful people? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. All right, here we are. This is the Global Empowerment Cultural Summit Panel Series. This is our 5th installment. My name is Renee John Sandy. I'm one of the co-producers. I also am one of the co-founders of the Hip Hop Love Foundation, which is one of the also strategic partners for this venture. And we'd like to welcome you to, once again, the Global Power and Cultural Summit. And today, because this is one of those beautiful months of the year, International Women's Month, so we have a focal point right now. What we're going to be doing is a panel on Hip Hop Heroines, a global conversation with influential women in hip hop. But first, let me just tell you a little bit about the Global Empowerment and Cultural Summit. The Global Empowerment and Cultural Summit was started based off an idea to get artists, athletes, progressive thinkers, educators, activists, all together in one space to be able to have some really nurturing, progressive conversations from all walks of life all over the world to just help create more unity, more solidarity around the world. And it actually was supposed to be something that we were supposed to do in person in November 2020. Obviously, through a global pandemic that we are still going through, we weren't able to do that. So we decided that why not use technology to its fullest, and let's start these panel series. So we've been doing them once a month, the second Saturday of every month. We've had some really great conversation, different topics, some really dynamic people, and we're looking at some really dynamic people here. One of the things I want to say that we really stress upon is like unity, equality. So what you'll see here, this month, obviously for International Women's Month, you'll see a panel full of some dynamic women worldwide from all walks of life. And I want to say, like, we have covered every continent here except for Antarctica. So if anyone can help us get a female that was born in Antarctica on the next time, we'll do it. All right, we got it. But we wanted to make sure that we covered everyone across the globe with this. So one thing is saying, with this being International Women's Month, I do want to acknowledge first and foremost, like, our production team. We do a lot of work, behind the scenes to make this happen. We have some really, we have a lot of great ideas. We got a lot of visions. We have a lot of laughs, but it takes a lot to put this together. And I will say, within the team, I'm the only male, so I'd like to, this month, especially with it being International Women's Month, to really acknowledge all the dynamic women that are on this team, that are part of our team. First and foremost, I'll acknowledge Raquel Delgado from Generation Hip Hop. I would like to call her like just the heart and soul of that organization, and even the heart and soul of our production team. She's from Spain. She's a really dynamic person. You'll get to, if you haven't met her already, you'll see, if you see where she is right now, she's always got that dynamic smile on her face, no matter what's going on with everything. So, she always keeps it bright and, keeps everyone moving. And then I'd like to also acknowledge Natalie Crew. Nat is like the backbone of the team. She makes it happen on the tech side of things. She's also very creative and also helps out with, ideas, and keeps a lot of organizational structure within our team too, from making sure we got everything lined up on Google Docs and everything. Sometimes it's visionary, sometimes we got a lot of ideas and you got to curve it in a bit, so she makes sure we got everything organized. And lastly, I'd like to introduce, and she's a part of the panel too, so she's going to get introduced twice, that she's being special today, it's like her birthday, Apoloinia. Apoloinia, if you've been looking at all the beautiful content, the graphics, the art, like all this stuff out there, that's her. And I want to acknowledge and say, she's from Venezuela. And if people don't know, sometimes in Venezuela, internet does not work very well at times. So when she's doing this stuff, sometimes there's a lot of technical mishaps, so to speak, let's just say, to get this stuff done. So, I mean, she has a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance with this. And each time we do this, I mean, I just get excited when I see the next flyer coming on and just some like new stuff going on. I'm just like, wow, like there's something I didn't even know sometimes we have this type that you know, these talents just keep evolving, and I'm like, it's just amazing. And you know, also she's, you know, an artist, so there's always some great, you know, creative ideas that come along with that too. So you know, I just wanted to acknowledge the women as part of the team. I also want to acknowledge Taylor Parker. She's not on here right now, but she's a part of the team too. She helps with a lot, you know, also one of those people who kind of helps organize, keep structure, and, you know, just a dynamic individual. She's based in Detroit now. She might be listening on Facebook right now, but I just want to give her a shout too. So, yeah, so once again, today, as we celebrate International Women's Month, this is Hip Hop Heroines, a global conversation with influential women in hip hop. So we're going to get into this today with some really dynamic people. Like, I'm excited, you know, I'm really excited to see this. And right now, I want to introduce our wonderful co-moderators. And like I said, you know, we like to keep it really on a level of equality. That's like one of the values here. So we want to make sure, you know, we had a male and a female co-moderator. And we also, us as males, want to acknowledge and celebrate all you beautiful women out here too. So, you know, that's how we want to keep this moving. So let me get into introducing our lovely co-moderators right now. First and foremost, I'm going to introduce Masia Jupiter. Masia is an Australian hip hop artist, activist, and philanthropist. And I gotta say this, I've gotten to know Masia over the years, and I remember when I was heavily involved in the music industry and I wanted to do some stuff in Australia. When I said, who can I talk to in Australia? I was asking people, and it was like, everybody was just like, you need to talk to Masia, you need to talk to Masia, you need to talk to Masia. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna talk to Masia. And then everyone's telling me what she's doing. So I'm like, wow, she's like the Beyonce, Queen Latifah, and Oprah of Australia over here. You know, I was like, I feel a little nervous reaching out to her, like, you know, so anyhow, she was born in La Paz, Mexico. She moved to Australia when she was 1 year old with her family. She fell in love with hip hop at the age of 15. And she had her first album out at 21. She also became one of the voice and producing of the hip hop show Triple J that was in Australia. That was like the biggest show in Australia for was it 2004, 2008, I think, so about 4 years. And if you know Masia has a voice. She has a beautiful voice, but she's got a very powerful voice, and she uses it in a very dynamic way in her ways of being an activist and taking stand on things that she really feels proud of, and really feels like there needs to be a change. And she's now based in Los Angeles. She's on the advisory board of Peace Over Violence, which is the Rape Crisis Education and Prevention Center. It's pretty dynamic. And she's also the co-founder of Artivist Entertainment, which produces events for artists that use their work to promote positive social transformation. So, it's pretty dynamic what you do, seeing how she has used her love within hip hop and used it in a ways of love with everything else in the world to, bring that all together. So without further ado, I'll introduce Masia Jupiter.
Thank you so much. What an introduction. I don't take all the credit. I just, I'm a connector and a lover of hip hop, just like everyone here on this Zoom right now. I think I've just always been about how can we make it happen? What can we do next? And I think that's why people are always like, well, just call Masia because she'll hook you up with the right people, or whether it's promotion or, connecting you with someone to tour in Australia. I've just always doing it for the culture.
No doubt, 100%. And I'm so glad that you said connector, because that was kind of going to be my leading segue to introduce our other co-moderator, because she actually connected us to him. And, we were like, we want to really have a dynamic, male co-moderator. So, Gabriel Teodros was the person she put the name in the pot. This is who we need to have. So we're like, okay, great. made the connection, so here we are. Gabriel is a musician and a writer from South Seattle, C-Town, one of my favorite cities in the United States. So enough respect on that. If you don't know already, a very rich culture with music and culture, so it's beautiful. He started making his mark in the group Abyssinian Creole that actually just built and came, got a real international buzz. So then he, began touring around the world, showing his mark with, the great music that he's doing. And in addition to that, to the touring, he was doing workshops based off creative writing, music, history, science fiction, and media literacy. Gabriel also published a great fiction. I was going to say non-fiction. Sorry, a fiction story called Octavia's Broad, which is science fiction stories from the social justice movement. So obviously, you can see already tapped into being a part of the community, a global community, which is was pretty dynamic. He also has an latest album called What We Leave Behind. So I'd say please check that out. Go online and download, support that. Always support people who are doing dynamic music. And Gabriel also, I was impressed because it's like one of my favorite radio stations in the States. And I was like, wow, he's a part of this. Awesome. He currently hosts an early evening weekday show on KEXP, that's 90.3 FM, and you can get that online too, wherever you're at all over the world. And, as a host within that. So I just see a pretty dynamic brother that's just doing things on multi-spheres, from music, writing, radio, just like a multimedia guru right here. So without further ado, give a warm welcome to Gabriel Teodros.
Much appreciated. Thank you for the intro. Honored to be here and excited to hear everybody's stories, man. Yeah.
Without a doubt. So right now I'm passing the baton to you two, and I'm gonna let this beautiful panel. I'm just gonna sit down, have my rice cake, and get ready to listen to everybody say some really great stuff there.
Beautiful. First, I would like to acknowledge the land that the traditional custodians of the land that I'm coming to you from today. It's the unceded land of the Tongva and Tartavian peoples. I acknowledge the community of elders, both past, present, and emerging, and give thanks for being on country, and will continue to be an accomplice in solidarity.
Word up. Yeah, this is occupied Duwamish territory, the place people call Seattle. The Duwamish people are currently federally unrecognized, so we feel it's important to acknowledge them every chance we can. If you're watching this in Seattle, you can look up Real Rent Duwamish to find ways to tangibly support the Duwamish people. And yeah, that's where I'm transmitting from.
Beautiful. So welcome, global hip hop in the house, in the building, in this universe. So I think the way that we want to begin is by having you all introduce yourselves. So tell us where you're from, and let's popcorn it. Let's pass it. Once you finish introducing yourself, just pass it on to the next sister. So let's start with Mirrah.
Much peace, everybody. All the queens. Pardon me. My name is Mirrah, rhymer, singer, and I'm on the Darrow land myself right now. So I'd like to give thanks. And hi. And I'm also a youth worker. So there you go. It's bigger than hip hop. Next queen.
Let's go to DJ Bonita.
Hi everyone, peace. I am born and raised in Kuwait. My name is Farah Bishara. For those of you who don't know where Kuwait is, it's a tiny country in the Middle East, right between Saudi Arabia and Iraq. So you can understand the political turmoil that we live in every day. But yes, I am a hip hop DJ, the first female to do it in the country as a profession. I also run a record store called Vinyl Destination. And yeah, I was a former radio host running the first hip hop radio show in Kuwait, and just passing the baton and trying to inspire everyone to do the same.
Let's go over to the Czech Republic. Sany.
Hello, I'm Sany. I'm a graffiti writer. I have been writing graffiti for nearly 20 years, and yeah, that's it.
Leny, you want to pick it up?
Hey everyone, my name is Leny. I'm Sany's crewmate. She didn't say much about us, so I'm a graffiti writer too. And we actually started writing together. We started writing the Girl Power crew because we were getting a lot of negative comments. Then got more girls in other crew that was based in Germany, and we are trying to spread the Girl Power. And yeah, I'm also a dancer and a journalist, so that's just basic intro. Thank you.
Rynea.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rynea. I am a producer, a DJ, an artist, educator. I founded an organization called the Initiative for Creative Arts in Birmingham, Alabama, where I'm from. So I'm from the South. And so in that organization, we teach youth how to advocate for themselves using hip hop and technology. Hey.
Masia One.
What's poppin', everyone? I'm Masia, born in Singapore, raised in Canada, worked in the States, disappeared to Jamaica for a while, and I'm as we do, and I'm an Emcee, a reggae artist. I started out as a graph writer, and I run a Jamaican jerk sauce company out here in Southeast Asia as well, to spread more music through the South. So I got that South later.
Love it. Let's go over to Germany. Karin Subo from Subotage.
Yeah, hi, what up, everybody? I'm Karin. I'm in Berlin. I have a booking agent called Subotage Entertainment. I tour artists from the States mainly, but also from other countries all over Europe. Have been doing this for a shockingly 20 years and more. Yeah, I'm also generally a connector like Maya, I would say. I book for festival, hip hop camp. I do hip hop publicity. I'm an activist. We started a political party here in Berlin, in Germany, called the Urbane and Hip Hop Partei. That's also something I've been doing for the last 4 years. And now I feel a bit in limbo right now with the pandemic, with all my event work. So I do translation and teaching at a primary school now, which is a bit cool too, but in limbo. That's it.
All right, and we got Suga. Looking beautiful. Have to let's unmute. You have to unmute for some reason. It's not. Are we having technical issues?
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Suga Emcee, coming from Africa, in a country from East Africa called Kenya. I am a rapper. I am an activist. We run a small record label with my husband, and I also do community work, and I represent Girl Power, and I'm also an actress. Nice to meet all of you.
And our last artist, all the way from Venezuela, Apoloinia. Let's unmute.
Sorry, I'm having serious problems with my connection. I'm so glad to see you all here as a panelist and as a producer of the event as well. To be by Karin, I've been known for I don't know how many years. New people like Bonita or Sugar, Gabriel, someone that I Rynea, you're so dope, your beats are so dope. And everybody else, well, I'm from Venezuela. I'm a co-producer of the Global Summit. I'm an activist or artivist. I do a lot of work Venezuela specifically. I was the first female rapper to ever grace a stage or a record or a tour here in my country 20 some years ago. I don't know how many. I'm happy to be here with y'all. Hey, Masia, I want some jerk sauce as well.
Yep.
There's so much heat on this panel. Oh man. Me and Maya were talking about this yesterday. I was like, I could just ask all of them questions for the next hour. Like just like each person could have an hour, you know, easy. Yeah, the first question that we came up with was it's very simple, but since everyone's coming from such different places in the world, we're wondering like how where you're from has shaped what you do, if that makes sense. I guess we could start with DJ Bonita.
Thank you for asking this question, because I think it's one of the few questions, like the question that I get asked the least. We don't have a DJing community, or like it was never a career path option for someone like me. So I had to basically carve my path on my own, living in a Muslim Arab country. You can imagine like the societal pressures, and you know, it was seen as like a taboo, like, what are you doing? You're a woman, like you shouldn't be doing something like that. It was tough in the beginning, but you know, you love something so much and you would do anything to be a part of this culture and like something you believe in so strongly. So I had to do everything literally from the ground up, building everything for myself from the ground up, and surprisingly found a community along the way. And you know, I feel it growing every day. Like there are people that I get to connect with. And yeah, I mean, living in Kuwait has its challenges, definitely. And I feel like my potential is limited in a lot of ways, but I'm so happy to be able to at least do this, you know, and call it my career path and be able to network with so many amazing people from around the world too.
Amazing. Mirrah, you wanna pick it up?
And feel free to jump in, guys, and just, you know, we want to make this a conversation, so you don't have to wait till we call on you. If you want to bounce off each other.
I just wanted to say that was an amazing story right there. Thank you, DJ Bonita. Coming after you, humbly, I feel very privileged then, because I grew up in Cali, then grew up in Australia as well. So I'm an adopted individual. I was born in Indonesia and adopted by a Caucasian family. My mother's Australian, my father's Irish New Yorker. Not because my father happens to be Irish New York and then I learned about hip hop. Hip hop found me, saved my life, age 4. So I actually met hip hop in 1978 before it became hip hop. You know, it was this disco funk vibe, became a B-girl, and it saved my life, I say, because it was something, a language that I could identify with, being a tomboy, you know, and acknowledging, oh, this is a comfort zone. It was a language when I didn't really want to speak to anybody, that I could just move freely with movement. Rhyming didn't come up till I was 19, living in London, because I moved to London so I could go and audition for Soul to Soul. And I was giggling at myself because it wasn't a movement that I was supposed to be in, because I went there and Soul to Soul stopped being a group. So it made me challenge myself and kind of adapt to the chanting and the chat bout scene, which was all the brothers rhyming one chat bout Jamaican style over dubstep and reggae and all these tunes. And I started seeing what MCs did as an adult. And I saw the power that we have as women. So as an individual, I was like, oh, wow, like I can use my voice and my poetry that I've been hiding behind for years to be like, I can adapt my wordplay this way. And I learned all the different chat bouts vibe. And I used to just emulate my homeboys. And it was interesting because I didn't find females until I started getting into rhyming and dancing. And it was this beautiful collective of support networks. And then all of a sudden I left, came back to Australia. This was now in 1992. So I started rhyming at only 1993. And ever since then, I've just got the opportunity to rhyme on stage. My first show, Blessed, was with Public Enemy at 21 on stage, and became, luckily, the unofficial Flavor Flav hype man for Flav on tours. So that was a beautiful learning experience, and knowing that we as women, we can hype harder and greater and equally as much as the greats of Flav on stage. Yeah, so that's my story.
And I can attest to that because I've seen her, and she's the hypest woman you've ever seen.
Well, I'll take it next. Those were awesome and amazing stories. I'm thinking about the question and where I'm from, which is Birmingham, Alabama. So I'm in the States, and I'm on the Bible Belt. So I'm from the Bible Belt. And of course, that has shaped and influenced me, my sound, and being a producer in a major way, because, I grew up in the church. So I would see, women playing bass drums, or bass guitars, see them playing drums, keyboards, piano. So it kind of always intrigued me to see women doing these things. And so you coming from the South, where you have, a lot of jazz, right? A lot of soul and a lot of funk. Growing up, during the summertime, because I couldn't go outside when my mom wasn't there, right? I would listen to records. When my mom was at work or my dad was at work, I just started digging through his record collection. And it just really intrigued me, reading the jacket of these records, and seeing these different names on, on the records, seeing what instruments that they played. I actually started out as an MC years ago, but it wasn't until grad school I got into producing, because I wanted music for my poetry. I wanted music to rhyme to, and I really couldn't find anyone who would take me seriously enough to produce for me. So I decided to dig in, ask questions, and find different ways to make music on my own. So when you kind of listen to my music, you'll probably hear some Sun Ra. Sun Ra's from Birmingham. And a lot of people don't know that. And he's contributed a lot to, Afrofuturism. And so you hear a lot of that in my music. I think about Nina Simone, and how, her music has contributed, her sound and style has contributed to my style and sound, using my music as a way to advocate for women and girls, specifically young Black women and girls and women of color. And so just thinking about where I come from in the South, and, just a lot of the hardships you see in the South of the United States, how can I use my music to, bring awareness to that? And how can I use my music to be visible? Because for me, being visible is important as a woman, because I really didn't see many women producing music, right? When I was growing up, I would see them playing instruments, but never really saw them, producing. And so I took my chance and decided that, I would be visible for other women and girls to see, but also create or teach or empower and inspire another generation of women and girls to do the same thing. So this thing can keep going, and that we're not consistently pushed out, of hip hop. So yeah, my upbringing, being in a church, listening to soul and jazz, being from the South, has contributed a lot to, who I am and how I am as a producer. So yeah.
I was going to segue from Mirrah because I discovered hip hop when I was 8 years old by accident with a bootleg Public Enemy tape. And while my cousins were listening to, J-pop and Taiwanese pop music, a lot of Chinese music at the time, I was discovering this thing like, don't believe the hype. What's the hype? I was very excited about what is this thing that I was listening to. And only at 8 years old, I didn't understand the political message. I just understood that something very urgent was being said. I loved the energy. I loved how bold it was. And I just read everything Chuck D told me to read. So he said, blood in my eye. All right, let's look that up and let's go find it in the library. And I was this like Chinese kid. My parents were just confused why I was looking like the autobiography of Malcolm X, reading it when I was 9 years old. And they were just confused what happened to me. But I think that shaped a lot of my growing up, because then I knew that there was something more than what I'm fed every day when I turn on the radio or the TV. I think I was musically, I was raised by Toronto, the pre-Drake era Toronto. And I saw at that time how important community was and how much people were building one another, and the elements, how B-girls and graph writers and DJs and MCs could kind of feed off of one another and be inspired by one another. And I think that shaped me a lot. And then returning back to the place of my birth now and to travel Southeast Asia, I think I'm very affected by seeing, first of all, Asia is very separated from where hip hop came from, right? So I think the first impression is a lot of fashion, a lot of like, you know, the swagger that you see on the surface level, but not necessarily understanding it as a culture or on a deeper level. So I think that, you know, my blessing to be able to grow up in different places and experience so much, that I was able to come back here and kind of be able to be an arts educator. I run a record label called Nusantara Records as well. And Nusantara is the name of this Southeast Asian region before it was split up. I guess Raya, this new Disney movie out, is kind of covering that, but it's called Nusantara when it was all under one sultan. And so we run Nusantara Records to basically encourage the artists out here to take their natural sounds, whether it's the gamelan from Indonesia or like danduk music from Malaysia, and work that into into hip hop, and be proud of your culture and the sounds that are from the area. So yeah, and the last thing I want to say is, at the time in Canada, I was the first Asian female face on television for hip hop. And I had a song that was busting. I was up there with Jay-Z and Beastie Boys and all of these things. But there was a huge backlash because no one had seen an Asian female MC in their mainstream before. So definitely every racial slur in the book, you know, like that you can even think of, or Asian girls shouldn't be rappers, they should be car models. And it's a bit disheartening to see that right now, stateside, the movement is Stop Asian Hate. And it was like the same thing that I was going through like 20 years ago when I was starting up in the industry. So I think it's important to continue representing and showing up and being in these spaces. That's it.
Suga, do you want to pick it up? Suga MC, representing Kenya. Woo!
Yes. So my story is very simple. Well, my big brother used to play hip hop all the time. So as growing up in Africa, growing up in Kenya, it's not really a thing that everyone plays, everyone listens to. So I was like, what is this? Who's this chick? Who's MC Light? Who's Queen Latifah? Who's Lauryn Hill, you know? And that really, really, really fascinated me. And it wasn't so apparent or obvious to me until the time I was in college that I really, really felt I wanted to do this. And the main reason why I wanted to do this is that women in this country have often led revolutions. And I felt like it was important for me to represent the women in my country. Like during the time when we were fighting for independence, it was the women who are running underground. They're the women who are giving information. It was women who are running things underground. So I thought in the same breath, just come into the game and, you know, try and do hip hop. And it's still not popular in Kenya. I'm still one of the few females in Kenya to do hip hop and just follow my path and continue my path, because everyone here is trying to go a bit commercial, and I stuck to my guns. And I think I was the first woman in Africa to rap pregnant on TV, because I thought it's a very powerful image when a woman just decides, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is what I'm doing, and you do it. And also in the same respect, in my country, especially in the city of Nairobi, hip hop is a truth serum. That is how people listen to you. And at the time, I was doing a lot of projects in the slum. There's a big slum, like one of the biggest slums in Africa, called Kibera. I used to do a lot of charity work at the time. I still do, okay, now and again because of this COVID situation, but being on the ground and seeing what is happening, people listen a lot to hip hop because they have time to digest what you're saying. They have time to listen to what you're saying. So it was so important for me to lend my voice into the hip hop world and just represent women, you know? So that's basically my story. Yeah.
Karin, you want to pick it up?
This question turned a bit into what's everybody's motivation or history or story to get into this, right? But that's okay.
Or the original, how is where you're from shaped you as a hip hop artist?
I'm not really a hip hop artist. I mean, I'm more an organizer. I don't know.
You're a DJ. Look, all of us do at least one element. At least one element. It's the prerequisite, right?
Yeah, but
and organizing is needed for everything else. I'm just saying, like, it's what you do is clutch.
I guess for me, I've always been fascinated by hip hop being such a movement, a big universal movement that connects people from all over, which is pretty much what we're doing here too. I've always, I think my motivation was always getting a communication going between people who do this. And I think that's one of the things why I've started. I mean, first I had a hip hop magazine that was also communication. We went to all the hip hop jams, sold it, you know, all the elements and so on. That was what I first did. And then I mean, my story is I went to, that was in '97, I went to England on a university term semester thing and didn't study there. I only went to see other hip hop people, record stores, you know, interviews and so on and so forth. And I also discovered the internet then. I was on internet relay chat. I don't know if anybody still remembers this strange thing. And I met other people from the States and from Australia and maybe actually you guys know Bevan. That was my connection then. DJ Sheep.
DJ Sheep, Bev from Queensland, from Brisbane. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was my hip hop friend.
Wow.
He brought Hubert on tour in Australia, and at the same time, people from the States, Boston Brick Records, they asked me for shows in Europe, and I thought, okay, whatever he can do, I can do. And then then I did that, and I did a tour in '98 with it was Dell was on there, Casual, Z-Trip, Mr. Liff, and Virtuoso, and yeah, something like that. And that was my introduction to the touring thing, and we went through all the countries in Europe, and I always liked how artists connect with each other, and you know, it was more this exchange of hip hop activists, artists from different countries coming together and making more happen. And then of course the conversation on all those different levels, and I've been doing it ever since. It's always been, I mean, for me, it's never been a business. It's always been a contribution. I want to contribute to bring this whole thing forward, you know. And I also never work with artists that I don't like, you know. I always have to like what they do and see some sort of, you know, it has to make sense. You know, I wouldn't just work with someone just to, I don't know. Of course, I also need money, but you know, it has to make sense.
Yeah, and I feel that is a general theme of what, you know, when you said contribution, it's kind of how everybody's explaining their stories and how they've come to it and the motivation behind what they do. But Karin, you know, I heard about you in Australia. Oh, Supertage, you gotta, you know, like Karin has toured everybody who has gone through Europe, if you're, you know, a hip hop artist looking to tour for the first time, like Karin is the person that everybody tells you to get in touch with. And I love that, you know, your magazine was called Subotage first back in the day, which was also doing that, was always lifting up, you know, the culture and artists and connecting people in all four elements. And it's really awesome. So thank you. And thanks for being here. I know Leny was going to go next.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about background of me and Sany. Like, we are from Prague, Czech Republic, which is next to Germany, because I know not everybody knows that. So our story is a little different because we're not like active in music, but in graffiti. And like the background of our country, like we were like under communism until like 1999. So we both pretty much grew up when we were little, still in that, you know. And the whole like hip hop culture got here like pretty late. But we were around like 14, 15. So it was like the right age to, you know, be shaped by, you know what I mean, when you start being interested in things and all. And it was pretty much, we were like 15, 16 when we just, you know, we saw like graffiti everywhere, like all the elements got here at the same time. It was very connected, like the hip hop parties, like local rapping, DJing, but we were mostly interested, active in graffiti. So we just decided to buy like first spray paints. And I remember pretty much the first time we went to like make like complete like piece of graffiti was at this like graffiti jam where we're painting like 30 people. It was in like one of local like legal walls where you can just paint legally. And it was a time where it was like no Instagram, no Facebook. So pretty much to get to know about this stuff online was like graffiti websites where it was like photo report of the graffiti jam, and then there was like comment section. And this is like where pretty much our interest in girl power started, because many people were just having a lot of comments about like us being girls painting and saying stuff like that we were only there painting because we sleep with some graffiti writers. And we were like 15, 16. We were like shocked from that, you know, like you just don't get it in this age, like why is this happening? And like then we found out that it was like pretty much common thing, and we heard that a lot. So that's why we started write like girl power, which became like organic like name of our crew, to somehow like fight against it, you know, to make a statement and make it the name of our crew. And I just want to say that this is not that much about like, because I know that the original question was about how our background and how where we're from shaped us. I don't really think this is that much about like local things, because I was really interested in that. Like when I went to college, there were some like gender classes. So I took them, and like I pretty much wrote my like bachelor and diploma thesis about like gender like perception in like graffiti culture. And when I was like taking materials about it, and I was interviewing like graffiti writers from all over the world and reading like stuff about them, I found out that like pretty much everybody had this same thing in common. Like it didn't matter if the girl was 10 years like older or younger than us, if it was like Europe, if it was the US, if it was like Australia, it was pretty much all the same experiences. And like maybe this is something we can talk about today, because like it was also interesting that like the girls like reacted to that like differently, you know. Some of them were like, yeah, this is happening, like I hear that all the time. Like when I want to go write somewhere and there are guys, they expect I'm there for like a different reason. And like some of them are upset about it, some of them kind of like don't want to admit it's happening. They're like, no, it's not happening, like I'm like graffiti writer, this is not happening, like kind of like don't want to face it. And there are like a lot of different reactions that are of course all okay, because everybody is different and has different way to deal with these things. But the point is that it just is happening. I'm pretty sure like it happened to girls in all different like elements of hip hop, you know, like because we all know that like all elements of hip hop are pretty competitive, right? And there are like big egos everywhere. I'm also a dancer, so I can see a huge egos in graffiti, huge egos in dancing, and like, you know, you have to be a little more forward and active for that. So yeah, I was just thinking about this a lot, that like when just like guys want to be more competitive, like it's just easy to, you know, find different reasons why to say somebody is not competitive for that and stuff like that. And I'm talking a long time about it, but I just wanted to tell you how this all started and what were our experiences that were very surprising, shared a lot around the world. And like actually Sany then started making like videos interviewing girls all over the world, and then she made a girl power movie like about like women writers all over the world where they were saying their story. So it was really amazing thing to do, because like it's not just a few of us anymore, you know, like it's legit. So girl power.
Girl power. It actually perfectly segues into our next question, which was about, you know, what challenges have you faced as a hip hop artist, but also I also want to ask, what are ways that you have overcome those challenges? Because, you know, in the United States, in Los Angeles, there's, and I think globally, we're in a position right now of reimagining, like changing the systems that exist, because they don't, well, they work for, right, we won't even get into that conversation. They work because they're doing what they're supposed to do, but they suck. So we want to dismantle, defund, abolish, you know, police systems and ICE and all of this stuff. We want to reimagine, that's the point. So in terms of facing these challenges, how can we reimagine hip hop in our societies? And I know Leny and Sany, in your bios, you talk also about facing sexism, such as someone writing, tagging over one of your pieces, go back to the kitchen, like, or girls belong in the kitchen, like ridiculous stuff like that. So who can relate to these stories, and who wants to jump in? I want to ask Apoloinia to go first, because we haven't heard from you yet. And I know your internet keeps cutting out. So Apoloinia. Unmute.
Okay, I'm having the biggest difficulties today with my internet. So I have never been sent back to the kitchen, but as I was putting together all the material, the promotional material, I was reading Sany's email. I was like, really? I mean, they did that? Like they tagged them out with go back to the kitchen? What does that mean? I mean, don't you eat? It's like, basically, I started loving, or this relationship with hip hop at a very young age, and at home in Germany. I'm from Venezuela, but was partially raised in Germany, and I started digging. Digging was like my first thing. Like I come from a family.
No, I was learning.
And he took me out like record shopping with him. So I started finding my own music. It was like rap was my niche in my family. Like I was the only one that listened to rap. So I would start digging for imports from the United States, and actually ended up having like this little job at a record store in Hamburg, because I knew the whole section of rap music. Like I knew it like better than the workers. So it was really fun. And then when I got back to Venezuela, I just kept writing and being interested in hip hop. There was no hip hop here, so my friends would send me stuff, would send me like packages with tapes. Can you guys hear me? And then afterwards, a few years later, I was listening to the radio, going through my rituals with the radio, and I have this huge relationship. And there was this guy that worked at a major record label here that got all the imports that they wouldn't put here in the stores, and he would put it on his radio show, and it was basically rap. So I would always call him and listen, and we would always like have this connection through rap music. Anybody out there that had info. And that's the way I got into my group, La Corte, which is a rap group in Venezuela, like the most renowned probably, because we were the first one to ever put out a record, to ever have a national tour, to ever go tour internationally. And I was the first woman to do it. So I was on tour with 7 guys plus tour managers and stuff. I was like the only girl. And they never really treated me bad, but like the hierarchy when it came to payment was different. You know, like I was the one that made the less money from the whole bunch. So that's when my problem started. Like, why do I do the most? Because I used to like run the city to sell the records. Then we signed up with this Medium label, and we had this website. So I would go on. Cater the website, the fans and stuff. It was like the beginning of the internet here. So it was not much of a movement, but it was a movement to actually go to the label to do that job because I didn't have internet at home. That was not accustomed back then. I did a lot of jobs and I had the least money from everybody in the group. So we started having difficulties because of that and because of the level of commitment everyone had. And that's when I started to realize, okay, this is not right. And this is not because I'm not good or bad or whatever. This is not artistically, this comes because they look down on me, like basically. And our story ended as a group and I continued like working. I went to Berlin, back to Germany once and started soaking in all this energy and all this information that Berlin gave me. Came back to Venezuela, started doing stuff here. It was really hard because we were basically like 4 women in the whole movement in the whole country. And they really didn't want us there somehow. Like we were there, but they really didn't want us there. Like it was like, okay, you're here, but you know, you need to make up your own place and space. So that's basically what I did. I have my own name. And people know me and recognize me for what I do. I started like learning a lot of stuff so I could put it into communities here and there. I went back to Germany at that time, and that's when I met Karin. And I learned so much from Karin. We worked together in this project called Female Hip Hop Net, which was on women in hip hop with Clara Felka. And it was such an amazing experience to be able to connect with 3-4 women actually speaking about women in hip hop and learning about other women doing stuff in hip hop. It was so different from what I was accustomed to back home. So I just basically wanted to bring that back here over to Venezuela and started connecting with a lot of people from Latin America and realized that there was actually a huge presence of women doing stuff. And a huge presence of women that didn't want to go back to the kitchen like they told Sany or Leny back in Prague. And it's just amazing to see where we're standing right now. You know, like maybe it's not the main industry or the big industry, the major industry is one thing, but what happens besides that is so much bigger than that industry, in my opinion. Because it this way we have such huge networks that are so much powerful than that industry that a lot of people look up to or want to be part of, and women historically in that industry don't really have a space. They have to really, I mean, look at all the women that we love and that we have been growing up with. Like what they did to Lauren, for example, in the music business. All those stories, like I don't know, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I think we have a lot of power. There are a lot of women doing a lot of stuff, and it's not, but we are practically not perceived by those that don't want to see us. But it's just, I don't know if that made any sense at last. I don't know.
Totally did. That was clear with passion. That was
Totally.
amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can relate.
We haven't
Just
heard
to
from.
hear what you went through, Apoloinia, is just more so like knowing that we're not alone, but it's an unfortunate circumstance that happens so often. You know, I can just vibe you. I'm feeling your vibe. And it's like the reason why they hated on you makes sense only because they were ignorant and jealous to the fact of your passion and your strength. Like you have that passion, and they saw that you had more fire in you to cook different things up.
Right.
You weren't one dimensional as a hip hopper to them, and they were so jealous of that. They were like, "Man, she gets it more than me. I can feel her fire," you know. So it makes
they were
sense
definitely
why,
threatened
but
by
it's
her.
unfortunate that they had to deal. You had to deal with the circumstance for that. Thank you for sharing. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say we haven't heard from Sany yet. So.
Oh. Yeah, hi, Leny, she spoke for me, but yeah. I don't know what to say now.
Oh, if you missed the last question, we also asked what are different, challenges that you may have gone through, and how have you overcome those challenges, and how can we reimagine hip hop so those challenges might not exist for the younger ones coming up?
You mean like what's a challenge for me, yeah? Or like to be honest, I think, or I feel like that I have done everything I always wanted in graffiti and also hip hop. And so when I was younger, I was more comparative, and I wanted to prove that I can do this and I can do that. I wanted to prove it to other people. I wanted to prove it to the guys who told me I can last. And now I think I got more chill, and because I think now it's much easier to get into hip hop, into graffiti and everything. There are shops, there are informations everywhere. Back into time when I wanted to get in touch with some, for example, female in Spain, I was searching years to get contact, to get in touch with her, also for my movie. And today you go to Instagram, you Google her name or something, and you can get in touch with her in a few minutes. So for me, I feel, I can say, satisfied or happy with everything I have done, and I just enjoying painting and doing some projects with I do also workshops with people with handicaps, refugees, and old people, and I teach them graffiti. So for me, it's not anymore I want to be the best, I want to find somebody. I don't need it, because also I see more and more girls are coming. But I think what is maybe done for me, there can be other girls in other parts of the world who starting the same fight as I used to 20 years ago. And so I just try to support other girls and women's, and just because I think, you can also see like this panel, yeah, like we are talking about girls, but you can see, yeah, you are a guy, for example, and many of you who organize that are like a man. So it's not always like that the guys don't like you or something and don't support. So yeah, like my challenge is, yeah, support others, teach graffiti, and do what I like. And I hope that more and more girls are coming, and that the culture will be more colorful, more diverse, and so. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who wants to jump in can jump in, or am
I
I just?
definitely felt that when she was saying she just wants more women to feel like they're being represented in the culture. Like that was my struggle, starting my career path, living in, an Arab Muslim patriarchal society, and you're just dealing with trying to find your way in a male dominated industry, and what a lot of people think, like, you know, or know hip hop to be as inherently misogynistic. So, you know, there's no place for women. Like, every step that you're like trying to come up on, you feel like there's no place for women, and you constantly have to fight to, you know, give yourself that power and give yourself that position and find that respect. And that was one of the hardest things that I had to overcome in my career, is just, you know, making myself known and earning that respect. There are a lot of male DJs in Kuwait, and I constantly feel like I have to prove myself 10 times harder than they do. And they get a lot of opportunities that I don't get just because I'm a woman. They feel like, you know, maybe it's not a good look to have a female DJ at such and such event or whatever. So I'm constantly having to fight to like better my image and, you know, like make sure that, you know, I'm doing everything right. Like I try to do everything right. But at the end of the day, it's like, even for stupid stuff where it's like, oh, do you need help carrying your speakers? Like, no, I will carry my own speakers. I will carry my own equipment just to show you that I am completely capable of like doing this thing from A to Z. And even though I don't have to do these things, I can ask for help. But the minute you ask for help, it's like a sign of weakness. And you're like, all right, here we go back to square one, you know? So I constantly have to do like 10 times more than a male DJ would have to do, or a male business owner would have to do, just because I'm a woman. And, you know, what is a woman doing in, you know, hip hop culture or the hip hop industry or music industry? Like, what are you trying to prove? And it's not trying to prove anything. It's like, it's always been a form of self-expression for me. And I just want to express, I just want to share. I want to like give everyone all the love that I felt through hip hop music ever since I was a little kid, you know, and I just want to share that energy. It's not a competition. And I just wish that, you know, people wouldn't see it as that. And maybe if there wasn't such a competitive vibe with everything that we're trying to do, then maybe we would have more space, you know?
Yeah, I agree
feel
with
that's
that.
a big culture as well, Bonita. I feel like the biggest culture right now that you see in the next generation is full-on competition, unfortunately. You watch reality. I don't watch reality TV shows, but my friend will be like, hey, and then I got curious because I was like, okay, you know what? I need to do an experiment. So I started watching just little shows just to see what they're talking about. And then I happened to be on a reality TV show with TLC, and they would wake us up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it would be the producer's purpose to wake you up at 4 in the morning and be like, so such and such said this about you, you know, but because I've luckily was the oldest in the competition, I was 30, everyone was 20, 19, 20 up. And it was this whole thing of, because I love to influence and be influenced by amazing women, it doesn't matter, you know, doesn't matter about what age. It was more so and I'm media trained. So I was very much learning about how to say the question and then how to portray it back without sounding bitchy or anything. It was more like, oh, I understand that such and such, you've shared that this such and such have said this, but you have to understand we're all nervous, we're all learning to be the best. And this, yes, it is a competition, although, you know, even though she may feel like that, I hope she'll know after watching us and realize there's no competition. I'm just trying to be the best for me. I'm competing for me. And you could see the producer like, oh, I can't stand you, you know, and then all, you know, and the whole thing that develops, and it was called Are You the Girl?
They had no
TLC.
idea. The producer had no idea who they casted for this.
Yeah.
They got the right one, didn't
because
they?
it was during 2005, so they weren't actually really mean as of yet. But you know, unfortunately, the next generation, it is all about competition. It is all about looks. And just to segue a little of myself, I remember being a tomboy and knowing, okay, but I felt safe. This is what I was getting at. That why is it that we as young ladies to women have to feel safe to wear the baggy clothes? Like, luckily TLC became a fashion statement, but I did it as a skater chick, as a surfer girl, as everything in school, because I didn't want my homeboys to look at me differently. Because when I did hang around my boys, I remember seeing the pretty girls that I would have loved to wear some of the stuff that they wore, but to hear the misogynistic, and this is 14-year-old. So I'm hearing stuff from a 14-year-old, like 9 to 14, like, yo, she's bad. Yeah, I'm gonna hit that. Like, watch this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't want my homeboys to talk ever about me. So I made sure I wore, look at the size of me. I wore size 36 jeans, size extra triple X large shirts, you know, just so they could only see my face. And so when they did see me, all of a sudden it became, what up, shorty? What up, shorty? And then, you know, and it's like all of a sudden I went to the beach with them one day and I happened to wear a bikini, whatever. And then all of a sudden they're like, damn, that shit is under there. And it was like, why did that have to switch for a quick second? And then I made sure I put my triple X t-shirt on and, you know, the whole thing. And then when you get older as a woman, you know, I used to do music videos. So from what we call the video vixen days. So you have brothers that would look that, hence I got short hair now. But in LA, the whole movement of the industry was, oh, Mirrah, you don't look like, you're supposed to look like Lauryn Hill the way you rhyme. You rhyming too conscious, but you're exotic. You need to rhyme. You need to sing R&B. You need to be more this. You need to sell, you need to do this. And it was a really interesting situation. That's why do I have to change for you to make you comfortable? Like, if I want to feel gorgeous as what a woman can be in a stereotype world, I should be able to walk down the street and just feel fly. But all of a sudden, this is, I started wearing head wraps at 14 up. So head wraps was an interesting experience for myself, just because I started learning more, learn about Indonesian culture. And I didn't know whether I wanted to be Muslim and learn that faith from being from Jakarta. So I started wearing head wraps, and I said, but I noticed when I wore my head wraps, brothers would be like, peace queen, peace empress, peace this, peace that. I took my head wrap off the next day, the same person, like, what up, bitch? What up? Well, fuck you then. Like, excuse the language, you know, like all of a sudden I'm not strong enough because I have my hair showing to you. It was like, it just became this siren. Like, I don't know what to do. Her hair's out. Oh, it's so sexy. What do I do? And it's like, my dude, like, I know kings out there that know how to control themselves. Like, why are you this individual, or there's a crew of these individuals that don't know how to handle a woman when they express being sensual, not just sexy, sensual and strong and empowering. And, you know, so yeah, that was my whole thing to share. Like, I find we have to have an image to keep strong when our image just being who we are is the strength.
Wow, 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 wow. Oh, wow. So you basically just told my story.
Yeah.
Probably all of our stories, really.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about, you know, the challenges, you know, especially, you know, for me being a producer, right? It was like a sin for a woman to make beats. It was just, you cannot do it. It's unheard of. So I got to a place where I actually, you know, when I got into ghost producing, when I started producing back in 1999, early 2000s, I disguised myself as a dude because I already knew, like, the things that men would say, you know, your beats suck, and, you know, you whack, and you didn't produce as your boyfriend did, and, you know, just all those types of things. And so I said, okay, you know, because it started to become really depressing for me, and I felt like, you know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But then I knew my beats were just as dope as theirs, right? And so I was like, let me do this little experiment. So I changed my name. I became Johnny Quest. And so Johnny Quest, if y'all know the cartoon, it was like one of my favorite oldie goldie cartoons. But, you know, so I disguised myself, and those same guys would be like, oh man, that's so dope. Like, how did you do this? And, you know, where did you get that sample from? And I'm like, behind the scenes, just giggling, just like, really? But you said it sucked when you knew I was somebody else, when you knew I was a woman producing this music. And I ended up on a record label with Johnny Quest as a ghost producer for a gospel Christian hip hop gospel label. And that became like a whole nother, I think I have some trauma from that. Like it became a whole nother thing, because when they did find out I was a woman, it was just like I can't even tell y'all, it was just a very, very bad experience. So I got to a place where I just said, forget it. I'm done. I'm done with this, but the passion to create and to, make music, which for me is my voice. I'm a very laid back person. If y'all ever get to really know me, people tell you that I'm introverted, I'm quiet, and I'm laid back. But, when you hear my music, you hear me. I want you to hear and feel, what I'm saying through my music. So I got to a place where, you know what, I can't let anybody, especially men, right, suffocate what I have inside, suffocate my passion. So then I changed my name to a girl and a beat machine, because I wanted you to know right off, a girl produced this, a woman produced this. And so now we're thinking about the era of social media. Well, social media wasn't really for real out like that at the time. It was more so mp3.com. So I put my music on mp3.com, and then MySpace came. So MySpace helped a lot as far as, being able to introduce myself and put myself out there, which was still hard, which was still a challenge. Guys would, say all of these things, but then hit me up in my DM like, yo, where'd you get that snare from? How did you make that drum sound like that? And so, I just think about how all those things kind of just really shaped me. And, Maya, you asked the question, how do we reimagine? How do we change these things? And so that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to create to be free. So I no longer think about, I used to dream about winning Grammys. I used to dream about that, but that's not even, I don't care anymore. Like, I used to dream about being on record labels. I don't have to be on one. I created my own now. So where I can freely express and do the things I want to do. And so I reimagined hip hop and women and feminism and womanism in hip hop in those ways where I'm creating just to be free. If you like it, cool. If you don't, cool too. But I want to be free. And so not only that, how can we inspire other women and other girls to be free as well? Create what you want, how you want it, how you want to create it. Just because you mix it this way doesn't mean that it's wrong. I used to get told that a lot. Oh, that's so flat. That's the way I wanted it. Oh, well, maybe Rynea, you should do it this way. No, this is the way I want it. So, I just got to that point where I'm just going to create just because I want to create. I want to create to be free. And so, when I founded the Initiative for Creative Arts, it wasn't that at first. It was the program She Shock Hip Hop is what, because I'm thinking, women and girls would shock the world via hip hop. And so that's where I, kind of felt with that title. And so this was a workshop created just for girls, to expose them to hip hop production, to all the equipment that went with it, to all of the careers within the industry, because we do need women in these industry, more women in different parts of the industry. So I wanted to show them it's more than, it's more than DJing, it's more than producing. You have engineering, you have sound design, you have A&R, you have management, you have booking, you have all media design, you have all these different avenues that you can go through. And so that's how I started to reimagine, hip hop for women, is creating space for other girls and other women to come in and do the same thing that I'm doing, and do it in a way where they can freely express themselves and inspire the ones that's coming after them. So, yeah.
If I can,
Speak up.
I'm sorry, speaking somebody else or me? Okay, I guess it's me. I just
You got
wanted
it.
to.
Or maybe after that, me, I'm also trying to say something. You go first and not me.
Me? Okay, sorry, because I got mute. I just wanted to talk about the like image of women, what like we all went through, like when like Bonita said that she had to like prove herself like way harder. I guess this is pretty much like shared experience of all of us. And it's also that's like, you know, at least it was, I guess it still is, like the hip hop elements are still like pretty much like male dominated, and not everybody has to like it, obviously. But I just wanted to say that like from my experience when like I had heard all the comments like that girls paint because like they want to get together with guys, or because they have a boyfriend who took them to paint. Like there was this like guy taking the girl, because obviously it's impossible for a girl to get a spray can and go do it by herself. So there was like a lot of these things that made women like me and Sany to have a clear message about us, you know, that like we just started painting by ourselves without any boyfriends. We wanted to do this like girl power, like, and we wanted to inspire other girls to do the same, you know, be more active. And like we wanted to hear it's good piece and not like, oh, it's good piece for a girl, you know, like again, I guess everybody heard it. But actually, I remember that this got to the point, this is like kind of the burden the like girls in hip hop have, because like you feel like you have to like represent the right image according to you, the message you want to like give the world, so much that it can end up like limiting you. Like what happened to me was that I wanted to be so independent and so much girl power that like I ended up doing things like when I had a boyfriend who was a graffiti writer, I didn't go paint with him, which would be nice activity for us, because I didn't want to be talked about as like the girl painting with her boyfriend. And this is just like, this is the burden that we have. Like you get so much focused on like giving the right message and to like be more forward, like move this whole thing for other girls, that you end up limiting yourself when you don't really have to, you know, because then you get in a position when you can just go paint with your boyfriend and like do whatever you want, and people wouldn't look about you like this. But this is like, I saw this also happening to one of our crew girls, when like one of our girls from our crew was like posting some pictures of her like showing her body with the graffiti piece. And this was also like me and Sany, like we are like very much against it, because these were the pictures of graffiti that would get most likes, would be most talked about, and it wasn't about the graffiti, it was about the girl. So we didn't really want to go this way, you know. And one of the girls from our crew like was hating that somebody else was doing it, and it just ended up the same, that like that she was saying, oh, like people tell me that we are just sluts and that we are like this. And it just pretty much got to the same point that she started limiting herself by what some other people do, because the other girl was just taking a picture of her with her graffiti piece, like she wasn't doing like anything wrong, you know. And this is what I just wanted to talk about, that it's just hard when like we have to prove ourselves so much more than guys, and like it's just hard to not to get limited by, you know, going crazy about, okay, I have to look like this, I have to do this, I have to send this message, and this is wrong. Like sometimes I didn't want to use the word feminist and feminism, because people just had their own definition of it, which like mostly wasn't like based on what it really means. And I didn't want to be misinterpreted, you know. And I was limiting myself so much that like I think this can happen maybe to other girls too, because like it's just kind of hard job, you know what I mean. And I remember like I was like interviewing the rapper Heoines. I don't know if you're familiar with her. And like I was asking her a question about like what she thinks about the like hypersexualization in like videos of like women rappers, because honestly it was like biased question for me, because I didn't want the girls fame to be based on like their looks and their sexuality. I was trying to make it you know, more deeper. And she told me that like, oh, I think like how they like make themselves look like, you know, showing boobs, everything. Just like, well, I think that like, if we are feminists, like we have to allow women to like present themselves just how they want, you know? Like, this is like, if you're feminist, like you don't do this is wrong and all. And you just have to let girls to do whatever they want and like whatever they are comfortable with. And I think this can be like very problematic sometimes when you try to like, you know, make the right path and give the right message to like when hip hop is just like getting a little complicated for a girl. So that's just my thought. And
can I come in on that for a second, if y'all don't mind? So I'm thinking about what Leny is saying, and she's absolutely correct. And I think about hip hop and feminism. So if y'all have never heard of Joan Morgan, check her out. She wrote When Chicken Heads Come to Roost. And it's a book about hip hop and feminism. And then also books by Trisha Rose that address these topics. And you know, what's important in these in their scholarship and in these books is that both of these things can coexist. But how do we reconcile hip hop and feminism coexisting, which we can? And so from that, I took, you know, from their scholarship and created something called boom bap womanism. And, you know, womanism just basically means that it has feminism and emphasis on the contributions of women in society. But when I put boom bap on top of it, I'm thinking about, of course, my favorite style of hip hop, or the aesthetic of hip hop for me, is boom bap, the jazz and funk, because I grew up with jazz and funk and all of the samples, you know, that were used to create, you know, the stuff that we hear MC Lyte and Queen Latifah and MC Trouble, MC Insight, and all these dope women on. And so, you know, thinking about how as women, it's okay, we can be feminists and we can be women as well. How do we reconcile the two between hip hop and those things? And so understanding that we do, as women, all of us on this panel have created and contributed to, you know, hip hop, and it's okay to have ownership of your body. And I think a lot of times people get that confused, and when we talk about feminism, oh, like she said, like Leny said, like, oh, you know, that's not what you're supposed to do, or they think feminism is like, you know, a cursing word. Oh, here they go again. Oh my God. But it's basically just empowering and inspiring women to own who they are and what they have. So there was nobody like Lil' Kim ever. Like Lil' Kim is oh my God, just amazing. And the reason why is because she owned her sexuality. Instead of letting somebody else use her sexuality to, you know, to gain, she decided to do that for herself. Then she inspired Lil' Kim. Now you have Cardi B. Now you have Meg Thee Stallion. You have all these other women, and that's because they were shown how to own who they are and what they are, and not let anybody else own it before they have. And so I think a lot of times, you know, we shy away from feminism, and I don't think we should. I think that everybody should be feminist, to be honest with you, because it's about uplifting women and moving out of the way, not allowing women space, but just getting out of the way, because the space is ours anyway. You're just in the way. So move out of the way. We need to do what we need to do. We need to do what we've been put here to do. And that's, you know, to create and to inspire others to be change makers in the world. And like I said, to create, to be free. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm done. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you so much. I think Karin and Masia were next, and then we'll go to Sugar MC. Sorry, I just want to make sure.
No worries.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll be saying some similar things. I think as women, we have to learn to take space. I think it's very important, and to keep that space, not apologize for it. I think a lot of women get into something, but then it's also hard to stay there, and you know, also to be there as ourselves. I mean, others have said that too. And I also think, I do work in the industry, obviously, even though I don't like to call it that, but and that's also a lot of competition. And there are also not a lot of women in positions of power. And I think we also have to learn to be in positions of power and to stay there. I really think staying power is a big point. And, to just deal with those egos, those male egos that are really everywhere, especially in the business, let me tell you. And to not care about that, and to not make, we have to learn to not let them make ourselves smaller, because that's what's going on. I mean, we're not smaller. and also, of course, I deal with a lot of rappers, male rappers too. I mean, I do love to work with female rappers, and I do that, and I try to support that as much as possible, because we need to do it. But I've also worked with so many men. I've seen them on tour in Europe, and I could tell you a lot of stories. And, me, myself, on that tomboy note, I've also always been a tomboy, the way I dress, it's how I feel comfortable. But I think it's also because I feel comfortable because I become kind of an undercover woman. I don't know if you know what I mean. You can be in this male space and not count as the woman that gets objectified, because that's what's going on, when I'm when I'm with those guys, with the rappers backstage or whatever, that's what they do all the time when they see girls. They objectify them. But when a woman goes by, they rate them 1 to 10 almost all the time. That's what happens. And and I sit next to them and listen to it. And of course I have my own thoughts, and they don't think of me of that way. I like that, but like you said, would I put on something different? Something more feminine, they would also do that, I think. And I also, sometimes I don't want to know what they think of me, but it's also, I also think we shouldn't try to think about that. But, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say, we have to, we have to try to not think of that shit and think our own thoughts, because, it shouldn't be our standard.
Yeah, thank you, Karin.
Oh, I really felt that, Karin. Thank you.
Yeah, I know a lot of us can relate to that. And, why do we have to dim our lights, as you were saying before? Why do we have to not shine or be who we are in all our femininity, our sensuality, just so that we don't get rated by, a dude? Masia.
Well, I think, Karin, like what I have to say actually segues off of what you just introduced and what Rynea had to say. Rynea, I used to work in LA for like Interscope and different people. And when I started ghostwriting, I couldn't get anyone to pick up the raps. Like, no one trying to buy gangster raps off of an Asian female girl. And after a while, we DJ screwed my voice so I sounded like a dude. And I'd sit at the studio, and they think I wanted the video girls. Be like, "Konnichiwa, mommy." I'm like, and then we go into the studio, and we listen to my voice, like, and the raps that I had written, and they'd be like, "Oh, this shit is hot. This shit's tight. Mom, what do you think?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I love it." Like, me and the girls would bump that shit before the club. And that's how I sold my music for like 2 years. Because I was playing off of their stereotype that there's no possible way Konnichiwa over there wrote that shit. So, Hello Kitty, motherfuckers. Sorry for swearing. Anyways, but what I want to say is some of the greatest challenge that I've found actually has met me at my doorstep right now in recent years, because I got through the industry for the last 15 to 20 years being one of the dudes, being able to, like, if inappropriate shit was said, that I knew how to, like, make it funny and, like, be down, and, like, I'm down. I'm not one of those chicks. I'm down, guys. And it was almost that I was proud that I had lasted this long in hip-hop as a female, because I was able to duck rape and duck harassment. Like, I was clever enough to do that shit, and that's not actually something you should be proud of. That's not something that you should normalize. And it was something that I very much normalized, where I'm like, oh, I'm clever. I know how to tell him like it is, and all of these things. So in 2019, I was on a tour. It was a reggae tour. And I was on a tour in Melbourne, Australia. And a team member, my personal assistant, was sexually assaulted on the tour by an artist on the tour. And so, it's all like, I don't even want to say fun and games, but like, you know, I'm really clever until it meets you on your doorstep, and then I'm forced to confront all of the mentality, all of the rape culture, all of the things that lead up to these things and normalize these things. And I won't get too much into what happened because, you know, the case is still open and we're fighting it. But I will say that at the time, the promoter in Australia did nothing for us whatsoever. There was no support. We were away from home. I was Googling sexual health clinics. I was Googling up the police station. When we returned to Southeast Asia, because I just wanted to, I took myself off of tour early. I didn't call out any names. I just said a sexual assault has happened on the tour and I need to take her home now. And so I had to cancel my end of the tour. I lost a whole heap of money. The official word that went out to we were going to go to Japan next. The official word that went to the promoters there was that Masia's a diva and she's such a raging bitch that we had to kick her off the tour. And because she was bitter, she made up a story about rape. Now, I had to go back to those promoters and say, well, actually, I set up that tour for my company, Singapore Dub Club. So in order for me to get kicked off the tour, I'd have to kick myself off the tour. And realizing there are not enough female promoters, realizing that that was an easy story to buy because they wouldn't imagine the woman is the one that set up those tours. And those stories were easy to buy. And when I returned back to Singapore, I realized where the climate was at in Southeast Asia, at least in the creative industry and the music industry and in hip hop, when this girl was brave enough to come out and say, she named her perpetrator and said, hey, this happened to me. I was pulled aside by a lot of DJs, a lot of male and female DJs that just told me like, hey, you know, protect your money, protect your reputation, tell your assistant to suck it up, and we need to move on from this. And I was so shocked that in 2021 that was the attitude that I was faced with. So as a result, we've started a campaign called Not All That Glitters from a song that I wrote called Not All That Glitters Is Gold. And we're working hard to change how taboo it is to talk about sexual harassment and assault here in Southeast Asia. I've got a lot of allyship from people around the world because I think Me Too hit the West a lot more than it hit Southeast Asia.
And time's up.
Yeah, and we're specifically doing it through the lens of hip hop and reggae because I felt that hip hop and reggae was particularly quiet during that whole Me Too and Time's Up situation. So we're trying to change the mindset out here, and not in blaming anyone, but maybe just in teaching terminology. What is victim blaming? How do your clothes, what she's wearing, not relate to those things? Let's dissect this lyric in hip hop. Like just going through slowly and trying to arm people with the terminology so they feel comfortable to talk about it. And finally, I would say, like, to the question, like, what is the hip hop I imagine? It's the same situation with sexual assault and harassment, where I imagine a community that is elevated to speak out and to also support survivors. Because, you know, if someone is alienated, if it's like the only chick in her all-guy crew or the only chick in that industry, then, you know, that becomes the only chick. But if the community is elevated to support that woman, or if the community is elevated to say, hey, maybe that survivor wasn't comfortable to call out her perpetrator, but as a community, we're saying that shit can't go on here, and we're not cool with that. And as a community, as a hip-hop community, as a musical community, that's what I imagine, that we elevate ourselves to a comfort level that we can help support that individual that might be alienated. Anyways, that's it.
Well said. Thank you so much.
Fire.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear about that. That's horrific.
Yeah, I have a song about affirmative consent as well, and the lyric is, I don't need to say no because I never said yes. It's like you got to get the consent first, right? Suga Emcee.
Yes, this is a topic that is so sensitive, and especially coming from an African country. It's rap culture here is very common, and it's not seen as rape culture. It's seen as I have a right to you. You know what I'm saying? And like Mirrah said, I grew up as a tomboy too. And there was a time I used to hide, I used to crouch, I used to hold my shoulders up, like I used to walk like this, you know, so you don't see, you know, how voluptuous or whatever I am. But it came to a point where I decided to just be unapologetic about it, because I realized I'm shrinking myself. Like, there's a time we had a studio session. I'm in the studio, there's a cipher going on. Everyone is a dude except me. There's a cipher going on, and when it's your turn, guys start talking. And there was a time I did a song, and they're like, who wrote those lyrics? You know? And I'm like, it was me. And no one wants to listen. Everyone is like, no, that can't be you. Who is your boyfriend? Is on writing. And it came to a point where I think everyone can relate to this. If you're in a relationship, they assume it's that person. If it's like, no one wants to give you your crown. No one wants you to own yourself. And that's why I feel it's important to be vocal. It's important to express yourself. It's important to just be you. If I feel today, I don't dress like this every day. This is actually traditional wear from the Maasai culture, which is still like in Kenya. The Maasai culture, the women can forcibly be married off. Like the father will just decide, you're old enough, you're 12. There's a rich man there with a lot of money, you're getting married. You know what I'm saying? And that is not right. And it's still happening today in 2021. And in Nairobi, we have internet, we have, like, everything is modern, but still that culture is in depth. It's so deep within us that even in the hip hop community, even, let's even say in the radio play sector, in the DJing sector, sexism is on another level. And it's so sad that in this particular time, like, you will find I'm probably as good or better than my male counterparts, but they will not play my songs because that boy is their boy. The producer is your boy. So why am I playing Sugar? I can just play this other guy. Like, what's the problem? Like, why? And then if you don't suck up, you're in trouble. If you don't kiss up to them, you're in trouble. So it's important for women to create our own platforms. I feel like it is important to speak, and like, I don't remember who said this, but being the longevity, staying in the game. It doesn't matter how hard it gets, just stay in the game. Like, and for me, what I've done is, when I got married, I realized people just were like, she's married now. Let her go to the kitchen, let her have them babies. And every time I'm pregnant, I do a video. Every time I have a baby, I do a video. And I don't care what you think, because it's important for me to show womanhood, because hip hop is about real life. Hip hop is about moving forward. Hip hop is about being strong as a woman. And if we don't show how strong we are, then the women that are coming after us will never get it. Also the example that she gave about Lil Kim. Kim came out sexual in her sexual nature. Lauren came out strong as a woman. And right now, those same people who are stigmatizing her about her babies, oh my God, you're pregnant, her children go with her on tour. And I find that very, very, very powerful. And I feel like as women, it is so, so, so important to lend our voices to the community, because we shape the community. We shape how society grows. We shape how the world moves. Who run the world? Girls. Yes. Yeah, thank you. That's all.
Who run the world? Girls. Wow. This conversation is just so beautiful, and I can relate to. I'm sorry, Gabriel, I'm like taking over the moderation here. Sorry.
Please do.
I think we're all kind of going, yes, that happened to me. Yes, yes, I understand. Like, we can all really relate. Apoloinia, do you have anything you want to contribute to this conversation? Any point, really. I mean, whether it's sexism, overcoming challenges, reimagining feminism, sensuality, motherhood.
Well, everything. I mean, it's what makes us women, all that, you know, like the discipline of being mothers and business women, and doing work with the community, helping people out, and being artistically on top of our games first. I think it's I mean, I'm listening to everything everybody's saying, or trying to listen. My connection, again, it's very, very shaky. And it's just so inspiring, you know, like there are times, I don't know if it happens to y'all, but there are times where I just need to breathe that inspiration in, like everything is like, oh my God, this is all so heavy right now. And to listen to
She's always about to tell you a heater and then she's silenced. No,
Okay,
no, don't silence her.
That's how I've been listening to it.
It's the patriarchy.
No, I'm learning from you. Come on. Okay, talk. I can hear you.
Okay. That's how I've been listening to y'all all the while. I don't know where did you guys stop listening? Well, the thing is that I think
the patriarch.
We need to. I mean, that's my personal resolution to myself. Like to connect myself more with myself and with the women surrounding me, like my family, the women in my family, my friends, my girlfriends from all over the world. Like I was so hyped to get back with Karin, for example, because I learned so much from Karin, like I don't know how many years ago. And it was so dope. Like she was just Karin, like, hey, what's up? How you doing? I was like, hey, how you doing? You want to come in and talk about women in hip hop? Yeah, sure, right. And that's what's up, you know, like we can't connect on that level. We don't have to be to pit each other against each other. I mean, and to put that on all the spectrum of our lives, like in motherhood, for example, like my child has been dancing to Suga all week while I was editing her flyer, for example, because she was like, that's so dope. That's so nice. I love that. Look, she's pregnant. Like, yeah, that's hip hop. She's like, yeah, that's hip hop. Oh, I love that. and to raise those children that way, you know, with that joy of, especially not just the girls. I mean, we live in such a complicated world to raise children overall. It's such a duty to raise boys, to raise girls, and to raise them with a perspective of hip hop. It's very interesting and it's very challenging sometimes, you know. It's what happens to me. And I try to connect with myself, with the things that make me me, and try to be as authentic as I can be in order to do all the things in my life, especially because I adopted hip hop in my life, or hip hop has permeated everything in my life somehow. So I don't really have the difference between, oh yeah, my hip hop life and my normal life. Like hip hop is my life in general. And that's basically what I would like to say. I would like to say so many other things, but like I said, I'm really, I just really want to listen. I want to soak in all the information you guys are giving and all the good vibes. I'm reading.
Beautiful. There's a question that Crate Digger wrote on Facebook, because we are broadcasting live to Facebook. Thank you everyone for watching. And the question, I don't really think we need to answer it. It says, what can men, male identifying people do to support the challenges of women? And I think
support us.
Yeah, I think that's
support.
I think
Yeah.
like
Just
in society.
I love the question. He questioned. That's a first moment. You asking.
Yes.
To even be that human. It isn't, I'm not talking, we're not men haters. I just want to put it out there. I feel I can speak for people. We're not hating on y'all men. We love y'all. We just want the respect naturally, like any human wants. We just happen to be females. Like producers, DJs, we're the art form of all elements. We're professionals. Treat us as a professional. And I love that you asked the question. Like, as a human, you're asking, how can we be better? Just be a great human and be a leader within your pack and show what you can do, which will influence other people to do as supporting humans that have an art form, that happen to be women. That's all we're requesting.
That's it. And the last part of the question is, what else can we do to help fight? And I really think it's like, I think this is, then you need to gather some men together and talk about it. Like, I don't think that it's for us to labor on that and figure it out for you. I think men need to get their shit together, especially talking about you know, we've been talking about sexual abuse and
Mhm.
sexual assault, and this is a man's issue predominantly. This is something the male community needs to figure out. Gabriel, you want to
Absolutely.
speak on behalf of men? Our token, we have our token male here today.
Yeah.
Do
No,
the
just
work. Just kidding.
yeah, well, 100% though, exactly what you said. We actually talked about this yesterday because this is a question that we decidedly we're not going to ask the panel, because it's a question that I feel like constantly gets asked to women in hip hop or women in any other space, is like, what can men do? Well, men could not center themselves all the time. You know what I mean? And it doesn't need to be centered in this conversation. Really, that's a question we need to ask ourselves as men. And how can we do better, you know, to it, and in this conversation, like, we just need to listen, you know, and like really listen, and yeah, and act from there. So yep.
Yeah, I feel also in the same breath, it's an each one teach one situation. If a dude corrects your boy, like, your boy will listen to you. They will not listen to a female because they'll be like, oh, she beat her. Oh, she, you know, she doesn't know what she. But if a man says, listen, when you do 1, 2, 3 to a woman, she feels like this, they will get it like that, because men understand each other's lingo. Women, we tend to get emotional. And whenever I get emotional, you're like, she's angry. So you will not listen to what I'm saying. You'll just be like, she's angry, shut down. I'm not listening anymore, you know? And I feel like as men, it's simpler to just literally listen, teach one. And also not refer to women as female. Like in Kenya, I tell people, I am not a female rapper. I'm just a rapper who happens to be female. You will never hear a female teacher. I'm a female. You're just a teacher, not a female doctor. I'm just a doctor, not a female pilot. I'm just a pilot. So I just wanted to be referred to as what I do. This is what I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, even as a parent, you're a parent. You're not a male parent. Of course, there's a mother and a father, but you're a parent. You're the person who is responsible for this human being. You're the person who is responsible to bring hip hop to the world. You're a graffiti artist. You know, you do poetry. You do. So that will also help, so that we don't feel like we are the lesser race who cannot do that. But, oh, oops, she just happens to be good at this, you know? So that could help also. Yeah.
I just want to quickly add to what Maya was saying, that, you know, when we announced this song, Not All That Glitters Is Gold, we were doing a remix to bring different voices voicing out against these abuses in our community for the remix. And so I played it for some guys, and they're like, oh, a girl tune, that's a girl's song, right? And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, Rape Thing is a girl song. And I said, well, no, actually, the greatest confusion and lie ever told is that this is a woman's issue. You know, it's a human issue. And so for that reason, I purposely made an All Kings remix of only dudes on the remix singing about it, and all Queens remix as well, so that both representations are there. And I do really agree that there needs to be more representation, and that what Rynea was mentioning about the roles, and Mirrah too, the roles that are also beyond artists, whether it's administrator, tour manager, promoter, all of the behind the scenes, that if it can be held by more women, the what a record label can do to facilitate things. And I'm only learning this now. I don't know how I'm learning it so late in the game, that with this campaign, I'm attracting a lot of women that have been hurt in studios by the record industry on tour, and they're telling me, well, I wish that I could be a boss girl like you, because I wouldn't know and I had to depend on him to get my record out. And then sitting back realizing, like, so really, like, an all-female record label would make you feel more comfortable. It would make you feel like you could be more independent. It would make you feel like you could do those things. And honestly, I never saw it that way, because I'm like a rhinoceros. I just like trudge ahead and like, let's go, you know? But now realizing the lack of representation, realizing people that do need that support and that feeling of safety and stability. And now I'm kind of, you know, deconstructing what needs to get done on my end too. So yeah, that's what I want to say. The gatekeepers.
Mesa, can you please talk about, you shared that you wanted to have a question, your interesting question in the
That was
panel.
it. That was it.
Yeah, it was a
Oh, I
similar
wanted more.
thing.
Yeah.
To just say, like, I understand there needs to be more platforms and opportunities for women in the space of hip hop, but also to say, at what point do you integrate? I'll give you an example. We used to do these girls tours, and they would address issues about women and girls around the world, like half of the world's women and children cannot read or write. So that's literacy is already a power thing. Then 1 in 3 women will be affected by violence in their lifetime. So all of these things we were sharing, and some of the schools would separate the boys to go do gym while the girls would stay for this assembly, and some of the schools would have both. And I'm like, that's interesting. Why wouldn't the boys sit in to hear about these issues that are affecting girls around the world? And they said, we noticed that the girls don't participate when the guys are around. They don't put their hands up when the guys are around. So this was my question, like, is it better to give them that safe space so they can participate and discuss those things, or is it better to integrate it so that both sides of the coin are knowledgeable about what's popping?
Awesome.
I feel definitely it's important to integrate, because that's the only way you're going to learn, because you'll get the first conversation from each sex. I find the only reason I say that, I luckily work with a company as a youth worker called Love Bites. And Love Bites is all about educating, unfortunately, domestic violence to young people. I say unfortunately due to the fact, why does that even exist? But we have young year 9, so that's like 15 going on to 16 year olds, young women and men, growing up together and learning about the relationship between one another, and not in a sexual form or nothing sensual, just actually as friends and supporting one another. And we get them to show professional chats about it and how to prevent and how to be to support a team of humans. And then we get them to write a rhyme about it, just so they can actually share their perspective and see if it actually, their communication from us as the youth workers, to see if they actually understood it, and to hear the power of the words that they construct and actually get it, and then share within the safe space to, unfortunately, either share that they've been or they've seen, or what they would do if to prevent it. And it's important that we have these conversations now, so the next generation of humans can actually go, hey, that doesn't look right. I need to be that support network for that person. And if it happens to be a male that sees it, a young man, and goes, my friend shouldn't say that about my female friend, or that random female, like, hey, and it's great to see that strength when you get them early, because when you get them early, that's when they kind of learning their brain to adjust. Oh, so my peers who I hang around with aren't the right peers. And then we also as well have conversations about that. Like, you're going to be learning throughout your life who your friends are, and how strong it is to be the one that you choose, an individual, to say, I don't wish to be around these people, or am I strong enough to unfortunately lose these people who I call friends because I don't like how they speak about someone. And that's men and women, like, we don't want anyone being, unfortunately, when I was in London, my best friend had a partner who, unfortunately, she must have been unfortunately abused when she was younger, but she was the abuser in the relationship. And to see that pain as well, that he was embarrassed and he didn't know what to do, because he knew if he reported her to the cops that he would probably get in trouble, because they would assume that he was just making it up or be laughed at, So it was a really interesting eye-opener for myself to go, oh, wow, like, we're not necessarily always the victim. And I learned that at 19 years of age. So it was a whole thing of, okay, like, well, how do I be a support network for my male friend? And how do I assist him? And what do I need to do as that network? So yeah, it's bigger than hip hop. You know, we all each know that the message that who we are representing now is the same person we represent in hip hop with the same representation in our business professions or as youth work. And I think that's what's important here that I'm seeing and vibing that yes, our culture is hip hop, our passion is hip hop, our passion is music, but at the end of the day, it's bigger than hip hop. We're a community, a worldwide, obviously global community that are like-minded. And I'm very honored to be on this panel because it's nice to feel like I'm not by myself anymore. You know, throughout the years of growing up in hip hop, it's like every time I meet people like yourselves, I go, yes, I'm not by myself. You know, it's like before I was the only Dungeon Dragon lover, and then all of a sudden, there's more people that like Dungeon Dragons now. Like, you know,
Thank you,
it's like,
Mirrah.
hey, you like hip hop? I like hip hop.
We need to wrap this up. But yes, hip hop, you know, is a reflection of society. So who we are in the world is who hip hop is. Gabriel.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, man, it just reminds me, my big homie, Davey D, he once said that hip hop is about building community. And if it's not about that, then I don't know what it is, you know? The last question we have, and we only have like 4 minutes left, so I have to keep it brief, is what is one action item? What is one thing that you will take and continue to take after today's conversation?
And one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Continue the work.
Bonita.
Definitely that. Definitely that. Continue to work, empower each other, uplift one another. It's all we need is to just support one another.
Yeah. Karin?
Not forget how many dope women in hip hop are out there. Shouldn't forget that one.
Mm-hmm. Leny?
We're also polite. I love this.
Yeah. I know I don't need to talk to
I'll just say what I said before. I just like seeing like-minded power people, and you guys just happen to be females, and I'm happy to see y'all. And I love you. You got another sister over here in Australia. If you ever need a confidant or a supporter, like I got you. Call me 4 o'clock in the morning if you need me. I'm very good at in confidence.
Everyone's so polite. Karin?
Okay, I'd say
We don't want to go. We're thinking like, well,
Okay,
can we
yeah.
make this last longer? But I think okay, Suga, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'd say be yourself. It is not a competition. Everyone is unique. Everyone has something different to bring to the table, and you follow your instinct. You are always right. Yeah.
Leny.
Yeah, I think it's about like keep going. It doesn't matter if you want to be perceived as women, writer or rapper, or just rapper or writer. Just do what feels right for you. Like diversity is important, and do it for yourself, for the girl, and for the world, not for guys. Thank you.
DJ Bonita.
Oh, she went.
Okay, Masia.
I just say that the Indonesian and Malay word for independence and freedom is the same word, merdeka. And from hearing all of these stories today, women had to carve their own path because that was the only choice they had to do. And I love the fact that this one word, merdeka, means both independence and freedom. And that independence might be not only in your craft, but in the business, how you run your shit. Just gaining that independence opens up your freedom. So I think that's what I took from hearing all of these stories, that when you carved your own path, you had to teach yourself that independence and knowledge.
Say that.
Sany.
There we go.
I just would like to say thank you to everybody who was here with us, all the girls, amazing girls here, all the organizers, and also the people on Facebook. Just go, 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 girl power, go girls.
Apoloinia.
Yeah, what I can say is that let's try to be our best role models for ourselves first, and do what we want to do, really want to do, and shine that light so that people can really see. I mean, the people surrounding us, and the people can come up to us and really feel like they can confide in us. What they want to do or what their anxieties are. And when we have anxieties and stuff regarding what we're doing, be able to come to reach out to people like you guys, for example, that can lead the way. I don't know if I'm being listening to.
Yeah, you good. You
Oh
good.
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. That was all. That was all. Basically.
I believe
If possible, just before, sorry to take over, can we do this together on WhatsApp? Like maybe every month together just to catch up. And I really enjoy y'all. Like, I
Definitely.
don't want this to stop. This would be dope if we can continue this cipher and
Yes,
just
please.
talk, like send like if you got projects so we can support each other, you know, like
Yeah.
let's be that team that we got each
Mhm.
other's backs, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I just want to keep this relationship. Y'all are dope.
Aw. Mirrah, you're gonna be my new best friend. I've already decided.
I like that.
I think Karen's the only one that hasn't gone so far.
I actually have.
Oh, you did? I'm being that dude. My bad.
Not taking up space.
Oh, Gabriel, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's amazing to have this conversation and to have you in this conversation. We put in a lot of thought about who to invite, and you were like the perfect fit, the perfect choice. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Maya is the illest though, really. Like it's, real quick, we just want to shout everyone out. Follow them all on Instagram. All of their IG handles, I believe, are in the video description. But yeah, big ups to DJ Bonita out of Kuwait, Leny and Sany out of Czech, Rynea Soul out of Detroit and Alabama. Did I get that right? Birmingham, Alabama, where Sun Ra is from. I learned that today. Masia One out of Singapore, Suga Emcee out of Nairobi, Kenya, Apoloinia in Venezuela, Mirrah in Australia, and Karin running Sabotage in Germany. Also, Maya Jupiter in Los Angeles, representing 3 continents in one, And my name is Gabriel Teodros, representing Ethiopia and South Seattle. Appreciate
it. Thank you all so much. And Rynea hanging out in Brazil right now.
Hey.
Hey.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you to everyone on Facebook for watching.
So I just want to close it out. I want to say, really thank, everybody. This is such an enlightening conversation. Just learning a lot, and it goes back to the listening, and I want to first and foremost say, for even all the men that are listening, that tuned in on Facebook Live, listening is important. And one thing I want to add to what you were saying about that question, I do feel there's some things that men can do, and one is not being indifferent. I think that's a big part. And I'm sorry, it might feel a little comparison, like say Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, when people like, oh, other people should be involved. But if you want change, men need to make that change. So when you see your friend doing a cat call or doing something that's unjust, you need to call that out. And it might be an uncomfortable conversation with even a friend. It has to be done at this point, if you really want to see the equality, especially in all of our society and hip hop in general. But I just think, it's just a beautiful, cheers to everybody on this panel. It's beautiful. I just had a vision. I was like, look, we need to record a song. Rynea Soul produce it. Mirrah can do the remix beat to it too. Maya, Mirrah, Suga Emcee, Masia One, Apoloinia. You guys do verses. You do verses. Yeah. We get. Let me. Yeah, I got you. I'm with you. I'm with you on the fire. Tour. Karin books the tour, and Sany and Leny, you do the graphics. You do the artwork. DJ Bonita, you're gonna be the tour DJ, and you're gonna do the scratches on the song and all that stuff.
Oh, that was so dope.
And Gabriel,
really
he
nice
got the radio voice, so he's gonna premiere it on the radio, you know, and let people know and blast it up on KEXP in Seattle because that is the perfect place for something like this. And we're
Can
gonna
we
rock
make this
it.
happen for real? Please.
I was thinking about that when we were looking at this whole
Let's
panel.
do
I was
it.
like, and it's gonna come out on Masia
Let's do
One's
it,
label.
man.
by
I
the
Let's
way.
love
do it.
it. Let's do it.
Yes,
Let's go.
yes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do
That
that.
sounds
Let's change the
amazing.
world. Let's go.
Everybody, Suga Emcee, everybody's gonna be on it, you know.
Yeah, we
But
just
anyway,
we just gotta go against COVID. We gotta be like
we're
deuces
gonna make
COVID.
this work. You know, we're gonna do this again and let everyone follow up. But I want to say first and foremost, even thanks to all the staff once again from the GECS Summit. You know, Raquel, Apoloinia, Natalie, Kendra. Oh, I did want to shout out. I want to shout out everybody who had cats on the panel that were coming in with their cats, like Tommy Boy, Sany, and not even a cat, but we always get blessed by Apollonia's daughter on every panel. Like she always has to give the blessing at the end. You know, it's love. But please follow everybody on Instagram and on social media. Follow us on GECS Summit. That's GECS UMMIT. And follow us on Instagram because you can also find everyone else's information on there. And please support everyone else's project. I think at this time, you know, it's about everything not just cool, but we got to support each other. I mean, and again, support can be free. That could be seeing one of your colleagues here that has a release coming out, and then you sharing like, here, this is that new release. You know, this is, you know, it could be very simple. Or passing some information on that could be cool and worthwhile to everybody. I think, you know, it's very important for that, you know, so, you know, let's do that. Shout out to all our partners, our co-producers from Hip Hop Loves, Generation Hip Hop, Culture Fix, Larma Entertainment, Ojata, Junior Music Executive, Empowerment Works. We have a lot of different people. Mirrah, you making me laugh right now, but stop. And, you know, and, you know, again, you know, we're doing this every second Saturday of the month. We have a different series. And also, just to let you know, in 1 hour, we're going to still be here. We actually have another panel that's going to be in Spanish. So please tune in. Like, dynamic conversation. Like, that's what I'm saying. This is global. So we really want to we're catering to everybody. And it's really beautiful. And Gabriel and Maya, thank you for being like amazing co-moderators today, because this is how you led this and how you made it like work and how it flowed. It's just beautiful. Of just everything you said.
Easy.
Yeah, you just made this real easy. It's love right here, you know. So
anytime.
Thank you very much for everything. You know, peace and love. Everyone continue to grow, prosper, and let's collaborate and work together to make change in this world. Let's step by step, day by day, action by action. That's it. One love, everybody.
One love.